Alright, here we go. The best middleweight naked bikes. This is not going to be an easy feat considering this class of motorcycle has become massive, all-encompassing, and ill-defined. Don't you long for the good old days when all you had to do was rip the plastics off your Super Sport, switch out the clip-ons for handlebars, and wear some cargo shorts and you could call your motorcycle a street fighter? Now we have them coming right from the factory, being called everything from naked bikes to hyper-naked bikes to neo-retro and neo-sports. In Europe, they even call this style of motorcycle a roadster. Considering our apt comparison of a Miata drivers to SB650 riders in a recent video, it sounds like they might be onto something with the roadster title. For our purposes, we will try to talk about bikes that share a few qualifying factors. The first variable in our middleweight naked bike formula refers to the moniker middleweight. These bikes are typically in the middle of most of the standard tiers of engine displacement. If an entry-level bike comes in at 300 or 400 cc's, and at the top line of the performance motorcycles come in at 1,000 or 1,200 cc's, our middleweight bikes are going to offer engine displacements around 650 to 900 cc. Is 900 cc the mean, median, and mode in our engine displacement dataset? No. Does it still constitute a middleweight naked bike? Yes. Why? Because 900cc ain't nothing compared to the turbocharged 1300cc wet dreams that has become the baseline for all of our comparisons made on this channel. The second requirement for a motorcycle to get onto our middleweight naked bike list is less ambiguous in that it has to be naked, without fairings. These unadorned bikes have not been incarcerated in a plastic prison, forced into a track day death march where their pilot, clad in a leather gimp suit, moonlights as a sadistic motorcycle executioner. Trading in their clip-ons for wide handlebars, a naked bike is the type of motorcycle designed for 20-somethings to cosplay as a cyberpunk anti-hero as they rip around town from stoplight to stoplight, popping wheelies and breaking the rear tire loose whenever possible. Lastly, with so many motorcycles in this class, I limit it to bikes currently in production and available to be purchased new from the factory. Bearing in mind these qualifications, let us begin our list of the best middleweight naked bikes.
What is up, my sweet little squid? Thank you so much for making your way over here to Yaminoobcom. I really appreciate it. This is the place where you can sign up to get entries for all of our giveaway bikes, join our Discord server, get access to exclusive content and our behind the scenes looks, and best of all, enjoy all your membership benefits on Yaminoobcom. As a Yaminoobcom member, you will get an automatic discount based on your tier when you buy things from our store, shop.yaminoobcom. That means when you get tires, gear, oil, or other parts, you know you're getting the best deal. You'll also receive 10% off on rentals from Twisted Road, making it easier for you to get out and test ride some bikes. We also have our member meetup feature so you can find new folks to ride with no matter where you live. The best part about joining on Yaminoobcom is gaining access to our exclusive Discord server. Spite and I are on there every day, interacting with folks, having a ton of fun, posting memes, and it's like a bike night that never ends. So register for free, select a subscription package that makes sense for you, and then gain access to all the amazing things we're doing here on Yaminoobcom.
Okay, first up on our list, meaning the worst and least worthy contender for you to spend your hard-earned clams on, is the Kawasaki Z650. This is arguably one of the middlest of middleweight bikes on our list in terms of its 649cc displacement, but also in its brain-numbingly averageness. The Z650 has a parallel twin engine making 68 horsepower and 48.5 foot-pounds of torgos. While not completely unworthy power figures, it still manages to be a bit of a snooze while riding. It doesn't have the punchy, excitable power delivery that you may expect from other bikes in the class. Its more relaxed nature could make it a contender for less experienced riders who don't want to grow out of their Ninja 400 after 6 months of riding. It comes in at a pretty accessible price point of $7,549, but for those willing to shell out a little extra cash, you may be able to find more bang per buck significantly when taking into consideration the Z650's budget components and nearly non-existent adjustability. The next bike on our list is a perfect example of just how much more motorcycle you can get for just a little bit more money compared to the Z650. The GSX 750 is Suzuki's take on a middleweight naked motorcycle. It has a legendary 749cc inline-4 engine making a significant 113 horsepower and 60 foot-pounds of torque, which is not bad for a bike that only costs $8,549. Also, word on the grapevine is that you can pretty much snag these for $7,000 at dealerships because they can't really sell them. Beyond the power figures, this bike starts to leave a little bit to be desired. The GSX750 is another victim of Suzuki syndrome. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean it was bestowed a turbocharger and a lifetime supply of yeet energy, but instead, it is a motorcycle whose potential for being in a class contender is stifled by outdated components and lack of modern amenities. This bike comes in at a curb weight of over 460 pounds, which almost makes it the heaviest bike on our list. Yikes, what a porker. Considering the inline-4 engine in this motorcycle, you're going to be making much of your power on the top end of the rev range, leaving the GSX750 lacking the hooligan factor that many riders have known and loved and come to expect in a middleweight naked bike. Now you've made it to the part of our video where I'm going to start to offend the Eurobike simps. The next entry on our list is the MV Agusta Brutale Rosso. While this is arguably one of the easiest names to remember in the MV lineup, it still finds itself pretty low on our list for one simple reason. It is really damn expensive for what it is. And you can offer me every piece of rationale your little brain can come up with, but for $14,599 for a bike that's putting down nearly identical figures as that dinosaur from Suzuki I just mentioned, it is a little incomprehensible. MV spared very little expense on this 798cc triple-cylinder motorcycle with multiple rider modes, adjustable suspension, quick shifter, and a TFT display. Frankly, they should have included heated seats and a backup camera and bumped it up to an even 20 Gs, but I get it. Companies like MV Agusta have a whole different approach to design, manufacturing, and the sport of motorcycling as a whole, but at the end of the day, I feel like that leaves their bikes destined for a life as a garage ornament for suburban dentists than an actual bike to be used and abused in the way that most other motorcycles on this list will happily oblige. Speaking of offending Euro simps, that brings us to the Triumph Trident. We are far enough into the list now that I have to be a little more critical and discerning in regards to our entries, and while I hate to have to speak poorly about Triumph, the show must go on. The hard facts must be reported. You all demanded a list of the best middleweight naked bikes, and that is what you will get. The Trident is a sharp little bike from Triumph, and I think it has a lot of potential. That beginner intermediate middleweight naked bike coming in at $8,395. It has a 660cc inline triple that makes 80 horsepower and 47 foot-pounds of torque. The Trident has a tidy fit and finish that you would expect from Triumph, but ultimately it feels a little bit utilitarian and underwhelming due to its muted throttle response, being better suited for urban commuting than nocturnally fighting crime like Robert Pattinson and eyeliner like the stylish look of the bike would suggest. Next up, we have the CB650R from Honda. The CB650R is an eye-catching motorcycle whose higher-end components and craftsmanship make it feel a little more polished and put together than some of the other offerings on this list. It has a 649cc inline-4 engine making 94 horsepower claimed and a 47 foot-pounds of torgos. It comes in around $9,199, which sort of leaves it in this awkward mental price break of being too expensive for being a beginner bike, but not enthralling enough to warrant a permanent place in your stable. It makes a healthy amount of power, but you'll have to rev it out to find it, which can certainly make for a bit of a confused riding experience. The CB650R has the proven Honda reliability and build quality. Unfortunately, those qualities often cannot come without the Honda nerd factor. You've heard it time and time again. Here it is now making an appearance on our list of the best middleweight naked bikes is the Suzuki SB650. The SB650 has the lowest means of entry of just about any motorcycle in this class in regards to both its price point and usability. Everyone knows the SV, so we will keep this brief. It is cheap with a $7,300 price tag. It makes 74 horsepower and 47 foot-pounds of torquinos from its L-twin engine. Ducatistas V-twin, and has a very low and amenable 31-inch seat height. It is halfway on our list because it's a great bike that everyone loves, and it's only halfway on our list because it's a super obvious contender, and I didn't want to give it any more credit than it already has. Buy one new, ride it for a year, and sell it to another rider, or better yet, buy one used and build it into turbocharged apocalypse scrambler. It's up to you. I'm going to be quick about this next one too for similar reasons. The Yamaha MT07 is one of the best intermediate naked bikes out there. It is quite inexpensive with its $7,900 price tag and offers endless miles per gallon. Wheelies, chicken strips, tank tops, pit vipers, the MT07 is what happens when the SB650 goes on spring break and gets introduced to Natty Ice and Whippets. It is not the most mature bike on our list with a cheaper build quality in certain areas, but for less than $8,000, even less on the used market, you can have a super playful bike that will satisfy all your delinquent urges. Did we mention wheelies? It loves doing wheelies. If you've made it this far, we are now entering the top 4 best middleweight naked bikes. This is the real deal now. These are the bikes that, while costing significantly more, are going to be the best overall choice for a motorcycle that satisfies all the requirements a middleweight naked should have, plus the higher end components and tech that make them deserving additions to your stable. Number 4 is the Triumph Street Triple R. If we're talking naked bikes, you know the Street Triple has to make the list. What, you think I would dog the Trident and not include one of the best British 3-cylinder motorcycles currently in production? This bike has a 765cc 3-cylinder engine that puts down 121 horsepower and 58 foot-pounds of torque. Those numbers are pretty modest compared to the 1200, but shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the middleweight bikes, the Street Triple is more than deserving of its place on our list. It has adjustable Showa forks out front and an adjustable Öhlins reservoir shock out the back, so you can really dial in your settings for your weight and riding style. The Street Triple R comes in at $10,945, which is a pretty bearable price point for the amount of motorcycle it gets you. Also, the thing absolutely rails around a racetrack. Super fun bike. Still that Daytona frame. Gotta give it to him. Number 3 is the Aprilia 650. And I know what you're thinking. Naked bike, that thing is a fairing, you bozo! And you're right, but it's a smaller fairing, paired with the handlebars instead of clip-ons, and I am sticking with my ruling as a naked bike. It's a naked bike, guys, relax. The 650 is a real sweet little motorcycle. We had its brother, the RS660, in the shop a while back as one of our giveaway motorcycles, and we were pretty much over the moon with its usable power, amenable handling, and its competitive tech package. The 210 is no different, sharing a similar blueprint to the RS. It is a 659cc parallel twin that makes 100 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque. It has a slender 403-pound curb weight, which makes it a breeze to toss around. The 210 has lower gearing than the RS, which contributes to all that usable power on the street. Even still, the 210 could likely hold its own while on the track if you felt so inclined. I actually took it out to Coda and had a ton of fun with it. With a $10,499 price tag, the 660 is kind of a bargain. You can't have a middleweight naked bike shootout without talking about the Duke lineup from KTM. The entry for our list today is the Duke 890, which comes in at 889 cc's and just shy of the top end of our middleweight classification. For $11,299, the Duke put down a significant 115 horsepower and 68 foot-pounds of torque and features plenty of tech with a TFT display, customizable ride modes, traction control, and ABS, which will likely come in handy to control all that hooligan energy on tap. A naked bike should be a torque monster by nature, and the Duke 890 has torque in spades. Putting up the highest torque numbers on our list sans the motorcycle in our number 1 spot. Okay, you've made it. Great job. The number 1 best middleweight naked bike. Anybody who's been keeping track of our contenders knows even the slightest bit about naked motorcycles, probably knows where we're going by now. Yes, it is the Yamaha MT09. Is it the obvious choice? Were you hoping that our hours of research and years of collective motorcycle experience would have bestowed upon us coded secret knowledge as to the one true best middleweight naked bike that no one has ever thought of? No, you dummy, it's the MT09, master of torque, baby. With 890cc's triple engine, this OG naked bike makes 117 horsepower, 69 foot-pounds of torque, and it can steal your girlfriend. Plus, nowadays it has adjustable suspension, a much better frame, ride modes, and a standard up and down quick shifter with the IMU from the R1. Pair all that with the updated Blade Runner inspired aesthetics, and you can have the best middleweight bike that $9,499 can buy. We really think the MT09 is the cream of the crop for 2022. Fact, Iceland grows 5 centimeters per year because of its moving tectonic plates. Goodbye.
Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yaminoob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yaminoob. Don't forget to keep watching Yaminoob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yaminoob.